as well as gentlemen, Papa Boris is back for some more Hearthstone content, and in this video we're going to do a similar thing to what we did in the last video. We're going to make a deck and we're going to play a game with it, and this will be very newbie friendly. So those of you who are excited for my arena runs to continue, don't worry, that is incoming. But I wanted to, make some videos that even folks who don't already know everything about Hearthstone and aren't familiar with the game to be able to enjoy. Because I feel like a couple of months ago when the game went into closed beta, there were a lot of these, like, how to play Hearthstone videos and first look, and then everyone was like, alright, we're sick of this, let's just see some actual gameplay. But now as more people are finding out about the game, I want there to be some new content for them to enjoy. So, here we go, let's go ahead and craft a deck. This time, we're going to make a deck with Mage. We're going to make a control deck. Now, what's cool about Mage is the class that you start with. When you first beat the tutorial of this game, you will do so with the Mage, and then just the Mage's cards will be unlocked. To unlock the cards of other classes and the ability to make decks with those classes, you actually have to beat the AI who plays as that class, which is kind of cool. So, like, if you want to unlock the Hunter cards, you need to beat the Hunter AI. And you can also play against the AI to level up and unlock cards, and of course also unlock the classes. So we're going to play as a Mage, and we've seen this Mage in a previous video. It's a very strong class, very popular, and the Mage's hero ability is Fire Blast. For 2 mana, once per turn, you can deal a damage to anything on the field. So you can ping your opponent, you can finish off your opponent's minions, and what's really great about this hero ability is that when you deal damage to minions with it, you don't take damage back yourself. You're going pew 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 from a distance, so it's very nice to have. Now, in this deck, we're going to focus on the freezing mechanic. Again, I'm going to construct the deck in front of your very eyes so that you can see all the different pieces and we can talk about all the cards as we put it together. The cornerstone of this deck is a card called Blizzard. So Blizzard deals 2 damage to all enemy minions and freezes them. Freeze means that the creature can't attack on its next turn. Now that is really great when you're playing a control deck, because what it means is you can just freeze your opponent's stuff while you continue to attack with your own stuff, or burn your opponent with your spells. So let's take a look at some other freezing cards we're going to put in here. We're going to put in the Cone of Cold. This is like a miniature Blizzard, alright? It freezes a minion and the 2 next to it, and it only deals 1 damage to them. So it's a little bit cheaper, a little bit smaller in scope, but also freezing and also very good. And we're also going to put in a water elemental. This is a very beefy, sturdy creature for 4 mana that freezes any character it damages. Now this is actually kind of important, we might even get to see this. If you actually damage your opponent with this water elemental, then your opponent can't use weapons to attack, which is really important when you play against warriors, paladins, rogues, which are not a very popular class at the moment, and occasionally even shamans. So there's a good chunk of classes in this game where this ability can be relevant. You can also run it into your opponent's creatures and stop those creatures from attacking for a turn, although that is a little bit less common. Now, I'm not going to put all the freezing cards in the game in here. That's sort of the beauty of Hearthstone and really any deck-building game is you kind of have to pick and choose your stuff. But we're going to go ahead and add in one more, which is Frostbolt. Frostbolt is just even without the freezing, it's just a very, very good spell. It deals 3 damage for 2 mana, and it also freezes the character, which is sometimes relevant, sometimes not. Okay, now we're also going to need some control elements here besides the freezing. So let's go ahead and add in one of the most popular Mage spells, which is Flame Strike. This is a huge spell. For 7 mana, you deal 4 damage to all enemy minions. So it's a really great way to clear out the board if you're starting to get overrun. Now, we've got a whole lot of spells, but not a lot of creatures, and that's sort of the difficulty of this deck, is we do need to make sure that we've got some creatures in here, so we can beat down. It's really difficult to win a game with just spells. So what creatures should we put in? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the neutral cards here. We're going to add in the Gadgetzan Auctioneer. So the Gadgetzan Auctioneer draws you a card whenever you cast a spell. So that can be really handy, and you can get lots of cards off of this guy if your opponent isn't able to take care of him. We're also going to put in a Stranglethorn Tiger. This creature has a mechanic called Stealth. What Stealth means is that until you attack, your opponent's creatures can't attack this creature, and your opponent cannot target this creature with spells. Now, once the tiger, pounces out, then at that point it becomes unstealthed and your opponent can deal with it normally as a creature. So when I'm playing a control deck, I like to have creatures like this because the real issue is that as a control player, I'm not going to have that many creatures on the board. So if my opponent has removal for my stuff, then I'm not going to be able to finish him or her off. Whereas here with the stealth, I can drop this creature on the board and be reasonably certain. I mean, there are ways to get rid of it while it's in stealth, using an area of removal spells, but I can be reasonably certain that it's going to be able to pounce out of the woodwork on the following turn and deal some good damage. Alright, we're also going to add in a Mage card here, the Sorcerer's Apprentice. So this is very nice. It's a 3/2 for 2 mana, and it makes our spells cost 1 less. So it's right on par for what a 2-mana creature should have in terms of stats, and it gives us a really useful ability. Okay, so we've got some creatures. Oh, let me actually add one more creature in. This is another Mage creature, the Mana Worm. So the Mana Worm gains +1 attack whenever you cast a spell, and it's only 1 mana for a 1/3, so it's pretty decent. Okay, so we've got a few creatures, we've got a little bit of board clear, we've got some freezing. What else is it that we need in this deck? We've got 12 more cards to fit in, so we can, assuming we're putting everything in pairs, we can put in 6 more cards. One card that we're going to add is Mirror Image. So this is a spell for 1 mana that puts 2/0/2 minions into play that have Taunt. So Taunt means they must be attacked before you can be attacked or before your creatures can be attacked. This is really nice for a couple reasons. Number 1, it buffs our Mana Worm. Number 2, it draws us a spell from the Gadsden Auctioneer. But most importantly, number 3, it protects the few creatures that we do have and makes it harder for our opponent to kill us or to kill our precious creatures with their own creatures or with weapons. We're also going to put in some burn spells because that is one of the victory conditions of this deck. One of the spells we're going to add is Fireball. This is a spell that for 4 mana does 6 damage. Now, if we need to, we will of course attack creatures with this spell, but hopefully this will go directly to the opponent's face for some damage. And we're also going to put in another iconic Mage spell, the Pyroblast. This is, you can see by the purple gem here, this is an epic card. I was lucky enough to find one of them in a pack, but I crafted the other one. That's what's cool about this game, is you can craft your own cards. So you get this stuff called Dust by disenchanting cards or by playing in the arena, and you can make whatever cards you want out of the dust, assuming, of course, that you have enough dust. So Pyroblast, being an epic card, cost a whopping 400 dust, but I figured it was worth it, because for 8 mana, dealing 10 damage is sweet. Remember that your opponent has only 30 health, so if you have Pyroblast in your hand, it kind of changes the object of the game for you and you alone. Your new object is get your opponent down to 10, not get your opponent down to 0, and that's kind of nifty. Okay, the one thing that we're missing here, and if you're an experienced CCG player, you might notice this kind of standing out, is the fact that we don't have any card draw. Now, as a control player, you definitely want to have some card draw in your deck. So let's go ahead and make sure we're not missing that boat. We're going to go ahead and add in the Novice Engineer, which is coming up in a turn. Here we go. This is a little dinky lady who draws a card when she comes into play. And we're also going to throw in here an Acolyte of Pain. So this is a pretty nifty feller. The Acolyte of Pain draws you a card whenever he takes damage. So if you get dealt damage once and then he dies, he draws you back a card. That's not super great. But if you can get hit with him multiple times and survive, then you can get multiple cards, which is really cool. As a Mage, you can also target the Acolyte of Pain with your own hero ability. Mage is the only class that can do this. And then ping this poor Acolyte of Pain to draw a card. Okay, so we've got a lot of stuff here, and we are actually going to need to add in one more card here. This is the trick about making these decks on the fly. I really don't remember what it is that I put in. Yes! Got it! We're going to add one more thing here. This is very important. It's going to introduce us to a new mechanic. That is Silence. Battlecry, silence a minion. So this is the spell breaker here. Silence means you negate the text of the card of a creature. So basically, the creature still keeps all of its stats, but any effects that it has go away. So like this Silvermoon Guardian would lose Divine Shield. This Sen'jin Shield Master would lose Taunt. If a previous effect buffed a creature, those buffs go away. So Silence is nice to have because, first of all, if my opponent just plays something really scary, I want to take away that thing's magical effects. And second of all, if my opponent has a taunt in the way, preventing, say, like my tigers or my water elementals from attacking, I want to be able to clear that taunt out of the way so that my creatures can get some extra damage through and clear the way, hopefully, for my Pyroblasts. Alright, now, this is by no means the only way to make a control deck using freezing abilities. As you can see, there's lots of different options for stuff you can put in, and I'm sure actually that quite a few players will be able to make decks that are much better than this one, but hopefully you found that fun to watch me make a deck, and informative as well about some of the game mechanics. Let's go ahead and name the deck, and then let's take it for a spin. So we're going to call this deck Freezy Pop. because we're freezing the opponent, and then we're popping out with a Stranglethorn Tiger or a Pyroblast for the win. Yes, that's terrible, I know, but anyway, that's going to be the name of the deck, and let's go ahead and take it for a spin in Constructed. I have been playing some games in preparation for these videos, so I'm now a 2-star Diamond player. The ranking in this game means pretty much nothing. It's not like in StarCraft 2 where there's like a ladder and you're like in a league. Just by winning games, you'll eventually climb in rank. So if you win very frequently, you'll climb up in rank faster. If you win only once in a blue moon, you'll climb up in rank slower. But everyone who plays enough will get up to Masters eventually. And I think that's actually, I mean, it's fine. I do hope that Blizzard implements like a more serious ladder system soon, but this is nice because it allows casual players to make progress without devoting forever hours to the game. Here we go, we're up against a rogue. That's really cool. I don't see rogues very much these days. And we've got a pretty decent starting hand here, actually. Maybe I'll send back the Fireball, but we'll keep this guy around. The card drawing is really nice. And these mirror images are going to be nice for slowing down our opponent. So we have a bit of a slow start here. But if we get a little bit lucky, we can get maybe our Mana Worm or our Sorcerer's Apprentice and call it a day. Alright, my opponent plays a 1/1 creature with charge for 1 mana. And I'm not really that bothered by it, so I'm actually not even going to play these mirror images. We'll hang on to these, because if I don't need to play them, I don't want to play them. I want them to draw me cards off of the Gadsden Auctioneer. So we'll just hold the fort here for now. This is, by the way, not a particularly great creature, because it's very easy to kill. Actually, that creature is also not super great. So this creature has a mechanic called Wind Fury. That means that it can attack twice. But I'm not really that bothered by it. We're just going to go ahead and kill it with our really great hero ability here and pass the turn. What's kind of interesting, and this is something you should definitely know, is that the coin counts as a spell. So I'm going second, and I have the coin. Remember, the coin is a card you get if you go second. It gives you an extra mana once during the game, and it's a spell. So if I were to play the Gadsden Auctioneer and then the coin, I would actually draw a card off of it. Well, my opponent's not putting too much pressure on me here, so I'm just going to go ahead and kill off this little boar and pass the turn. Now, the Rogue's hero ability is that she equips a 1/2 dagger. So Rogues are the only class in the game that can actually get a weapon for free, which is kind of nifty. And this means then that if I get one of those water elementals and can attack my opponent with it, I'll actually be able to hold my opponent at bay from using her hero ability, which is very important. Okay, let's go ahead and play the Novice Engineer and draw a card, see what we get. Blizzard, that could be good coming up. Well, we're going to use one of these mirror images because this Raging Worgen is a very scary creature. So it has the Enrage ability. What Enrage means is that if the creature has damage on it, in other words, if its health is less than maximum, then something happens. So this Raging Worgen gets Wind Fury and +1 attack if it is enraged. So for example, it could actually run into my Novice Engineer, take a point of damage, and become a 4/2, and then it could actually attack again, which is a bit scary. So what we're going to do is we're going to play Mana Worm, and now we're going to play Mirror Image. So that does a couple of things. First of all, it pumps up this Mana Worm, becoming a 2/3. And second of all, it puts these 2/0/2s with Taunt in the way, so this Raging Worgen can't rage itself against these mirror images. My opponent continues to play crappy 1-drops, which I'm fine with, and then she plays a spell called Backstab. It's 0 mana, and you deal 2 damage to an undamaged minion. So it's a very, very powerful spell. Now, sorry, while I was looking at the backstab there, we missed something, which is that my opponent actually cast Shiv on her own Raging Worgen. So the Shiv deals a damage and draws a card, so what my opponent did was she cast Shiv on this Raging Worgen, and then that made it get all Wind Furied and angry. Okay, well, here we have a couple of options. One very tempting option is just to play the Blizzard and kill both of these things. Another option is I can play the Spellbreaker, make this guy stop being all angry, and then I could kill the Leper Gnome with my Novice Engineer. A third option is actually to play the Gadsden Auctioneer, and then play Coin and play this other mirror image. My opponent's a bit low on cards, so that should be able to hold off this Raging Worgen for a little while and draw me a couple of cards. Let's do that. We'll kill things next turn. Frostbolt, that'll be nice to have. And then now with the extra mana, we're going to play a mirror image. That gives me another card. And I make a couple of these things. So just for safety's sake, we're going to run the Novice Engineer into this Leper Gnome. The Leper Gnome has Death Rattle. That means it does something when it dies, and the Death Rattle is deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. So this rogue is playing with a lot of very, very cheap cards. Okay, so I take 2 damage, and now I pass the turn. So this Worgen is all enraged, but there are these 2 Taunters in the way, which will hold it at bay long enough for me to play either a Blizzard or a Frostbolt on the following turn. Now, if my opponent could clear even one of these out, then the Worgen would be able to kill my Gadgetzan Auctioneer. Ah, she's going to sap, return an enemy minion to its owner's hand. Okay, so this mirror image is back now. And my opponent plays a Defias Ringleader. Okay, so Defias Ringleader is a creature that has the combo ability. This is actually unique to rogues. Rogues are the only class that has this. Combo means that if you play another card before you play this one on your turn, you get an extra effect. In this case, she also got a 2/1 because before casting this Defias Ringleader, she played Sap on my mirror image. Well, that is just fine by me. What we're going to do here is play a Sorcerer's Apprentice to make my spells cheaper. Then we're going to just go ahead and play Blizzard and kill all my opponent's stuff. So what we have here is a very dire situation for the rogue because she played with a lot of very cheap cards. I'm at 15 health and she's got no cards to my butt ton. So it's actually very unlikely that my opponent's going to be able to kill me. It's going to take her a lot of turns swinging at me with that dagger before I die. Okay, well let's go ahead then and take care of her creature. I don't really want my opponent keeping any creatures on the board. So we've got a Frostbolt here, which is quite handy for that purpose. It's dead. Let's go ahead and... okay. That is that. Well, that was so quick. I think we can do one more game. Oh, yeah, I'm up to 3-star diamond. Look at that. I don't actually... so you can see, just being at a high ranking isn't necessarily indicative of skill. So we had, what is it, copper, then silver, then gold, and then diamond. So I'm like kind of high up here. That opponent was playing with a pretty weak deck. Basically, her problem was that she had way too many one-drop creatures. In other words, creatures that cost 1 mana and only have 1 toughness. It's just so weak against mages and rogues and druids, all of whom can kill that stuff for free. And we're up against the same rogue! Well, I guess there's not that many people on at the moment. Well, we'll see if I have to eat crow here as my opponent beats me down on the second time. Again, we're going to... you know what? Let's send this stuff back. Let's just keep my mana worm. I've got a pretty nice start. I have a creature to play on turn 1. Let's see if we can get some earlier plays here, like this Novice Engineer. Against this opponent, who has all these creatures that have just 1 toughness, a 1/3 is actually quite solid. Alright, we drew a Cone of Cold, which freezes a minion and the ones next to it, which is really nice. Because it can really slow down creatures. It's a very good spell because when you're playing a control deck, the thing that you're scared of the most are like really aggressive decks, and this is a very cheap card that can hold 3 creatures at bay all by itself. So it's nice to have when you're up against rogues playing decks like this one. But yeah, as I was saying, this rogue seems to have way too many cheap creatures in the deck. The way to be aggressive is actually to have a lot of like 2 and 3 mana creatures, not so much the 1 mana creatures. Alright, what have we got here for my opponent? For 3 mana, she's used her coin. She's going to play an SI Agent. Well, this is a very good card, but my opponent didn't really use it very effectively. It has a combo deal 3 damage. So the coin that my opponent spent to put this into play allowed it to play the combo for, 2 damage. However, dealing damage to my face isn't super effective. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to play the Novice Engineer. Draw a card, see what we get. The Acolyte of Pain, that'll be nice. And we're going to play Mirror Image. This is extremely annoying, so you can see how good this card is. It may not seem like much, but it's actually quite a ferocious irritation for the opponent. So now this SI Agent would love to kill my creatures, but he can't. So that's bad news for my opponent. Now next turn, depending on what my opponent does, we'll either play the Acolyte of Pain, hopefully to get some more cards, or we'll actually play Cone of Cold to freeze her creatures. I don't really want to use Cone of Cold just for this guy, but maybe for him and this feller? Yeah, definitely. Alright, so this is going to be nice. We're going to play Cone of Cold. I could actually play the Spellbreaker as well and silence this. This has Wind Fury, so he can attack twice per turn. But no, we'll just keep it simple. Let's just play the Cone of Cold here. Freeze my opponent's creatures, make my Mana Worm get bigger, and we're going to just go ahead and keep on swinging. Remember, this deck has a lot of burn in it. We've got 2 Fireballs, 2 Pyroblasts, 2 Frostbolts. So even though these guys are kind of dinker nuggets, any little help I can get dealing damage to my opponent is going to be nice. Okay, my opponent played Deadly Poison. This is a spell that gives +2 attack to her weapon, so this is now a weapon that deals 3 damage per hit, which is a little bit scary. Alright, here's that young Dragonhawk again. Alright, well, we have some choices here. One is we could play a Novice Engineer and draw a card, and then maybe the Acolyte of Pain. The issue is this is kind of a lot of damage that I'm facing, and all this stuff does sort of die to Blizzard, so it's kind of tempting just to play this. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just kill all of her stuff with Blizzard. Let's make this Mana Worm bigger, and let's swing for 5 damage. So I'm the one actually being the aggressor in this game. I'm kind of run out of my control cards. I've got all these creatures here. I don't have any of my Flame Strikes, but, you know, it's all in the deck. It'll all be coming eventually. We've got Flame Strike. Okie dokie. That... that is that. Well, we didn't get to see any, you know, like, super tense cliffhanger high-impact games, but hopefully you enjoyed that, watching the deck in action, and I'll be back. I'll make another video just to play some more games with this deck so that we can, you know, face some stiffer competition, perhaps, and also maybe even watch Papa Boris lose, which I know is a selling point for many of you on this channel. And look at that. We made it up to something. What is it? Oh, a Master! I thought there was a Platinum ranking. Was I already at Platinum? Oh, maybe I already just breezed past Diamond and into Platinum and didn't realize it. Yes, I'm a 1-star Master. Alright, so we'll have some very tough opponents coming up, and I shall see you again soon. Till then.